In this video, we're going to tour all around Gig Harbor and show you all the things that it has to offer. This is a great little town. I look forward to showing you all around the area. My name is Darren Rivers, I'm the Northwest Realtor, and welcome to living in Gig Harbor. If you're new to this channel, subscribe, tap that little bell so you can get your weekly notifications, and let's get this thing started. This is a map showing the entire Gig Harbor area. As you can see, it is completely surrounded by water. Throughout this video, we'll concentrate on individual areas, starting with what's highlighted here, downtown Gig Harbor. We are currently traveling down Soundview, which is down a fairly lengthy hill to downtown Gig Harbor. As we make this bend, we come onto Harbor View Drive. This is the heart of Gig Harbor itself. Now, Gig Harbor is actually quite small if you're talking about the actual city limits. It's only 5.9 square miles and only has about 11,000 people for its population. But the entire greater Gig Harbor and the Gig Harbor mailing address is quite larger, encompassing about 40,000 people. So like I mentioned, this is Harborview Drive, and this is where all the downtown activities occur. Here on the right coming up is a little park called Scansey Park. This is where they have concerts in the summertime on every Tuesday evening, and they also have a farmer's market on Thursdays. It's right here on the right now. And then just past this is kind of a public area with this deck up above there. To the right of that is a public pier where people can park their boats or go launch paddle boards or kayaks or what have you. All along this strip, there's shops, boutiques, little restaurants, bakeries. There's even some single-family homes. It's quite busy in the summer with joggers and people walking their dogs and hitting all the little coffee shops and whatnot. But it's also pretty busy in the wintertime too. This is the touristy part of Gig Harbor, but it's very much used by the locals. And it's just a really cool, pretty place right here on the water with some really cool old buildings and just a lot of variety. In case you're not from this area, it rarely snows here. This happens a couple times a year and it's really pretty when it does, so I thought I'd put it on video. As we're approaching the end of the harbor, there's a couple things I want to highlight. That building we just passed on the left is actually a 365-day-a-year Christmas store. It's kind of a cool spot. There was also some restaurants back there with the Thai hut and a great burger place. Get the Gorgonzola burger. It is to die for. So we've just made the curve. Now we're basically heading east and we're at the end of the harbor. Up on the left is some residential homes that overlook the harbor and have a great view. And on the right there's some homes here as well and some condos. And then we're going to come down into this new little area here. It's got a couple restaurants. Anthony's restaurant here. There's a great place called Devoted Kiss, which is the best breakfast sandwiches in town. And then on the left coming up here is a wine bar called Morso. It's got a great outdoor patio and it looks out over the harbor, and it's a really cool spot. It's actually right up here on the left right now. So we're going to be heading over to Gig Harbor East, and we'll catch up when we get over there. We are just right across Gig Harbor in Gig Harbor East. So this little area is obviously just on the other side of the harbor from downtown, and the road we are currently on is Goodman. Goodman is really like the Rodeo Drive of Gig Harbor. It's got some extravagant homes on the water, most of which are to our left right now. These homes are really nice, pretty expensive, you know, anywhere from $2 million, maybe up to $6 million. There's some new construction with really big homes, and you know, they may even have higher price tags than that. Many of the homes have deep water docks, so you can put a sailboat out there with a keel or a big yacht. And man, putting a dock in the Sound these days is like an act of Congress. So those docks add a lot of value to those homes, and they're really, really nice. Like I said, it's definitely one of the more exclusive areas of Gig Harbor. So that's Goodman Drive, and then we're going to head up over to Uptown right after this. As we come into Uptown, we just crossed over the Olympic overpass over Highway 16 and coming down to Olympic and Point Fosdick. And no joke, this might be one of the most busy intersections in all of Western Washington. It's not busy today with the snow on the ground and not many people are venturing out, but holy smokes, this intersection gets really congested. And it's just, I don't know, too rapid of a growth or too poor of a design. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a really busy spot. Great place for Starbucks as I'm trying to pull in here to get a cup. But nope, that congestion is worse than the light. So we'll move on and get coffee somewhere else. As we turn onto Point Fosdick here, this is Uptown, and this is a revitalized area for sure. Lots of new development, especially there on the left. It's got restaurants and bars and outdoor shopping, kind of an outdoor mall. There's the movie theater, coffee shops. There's some of that stuff on the right as well, but on the left side here, this is a lot of new buildings, within the last 5-10 years, and just really came to life. So we'll turn in here, take a little look. There's a little medical pavilion there on the right. Some good restaurants. You can see the Blazing Onion. There's Blue Aguave, which is a Mexican little joint, outdoor seating. We're going to turn right down here, which has outdoor shops, and pull right up in front of the movie theater. So it's a really great spot. It's pretty active. Like I said, it's cold and there's snow on the ground, and man, that's unusual for Gig Harbor. We get snow 2 or 3 times a year, and it lasts 2 or 3 days, so it's kind of a treat when we get it, although not many people know how to drive in it, so be careful of that. I swear to God, you get 1 or 2 inches of snow on the ground, and they shut down all the schools, which I don't know how they do it in other parts of the country, but they can't do it here for some reason. Anyway, coming up here, we're just going to circle out of the Uptown area. There's a grocery store right up here on the right called Safeway. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that brand. And we'll head out to Wollochet from here. Let's head over to Wollochet, which is highlighted here on the map. As you can see where Wollochet is located on the map, we're at a pretty southerly part of Gig Harbor. Now, Wollochet area has a couple highlights to it. One, this is where the Tacoma Narrows Airport is. Now, I know it's named Tacoma Narrows, but it's very much in Gig Harbor. Not a lot of flight traffic, but you'll occasionally get a private corporate jet and definitely some private planes, but nothing commercial or anything like that. So, not a lot of air traffic noise by any means. The other thing that it has is Wollochet Bay, which you can see down in front of me just barely over this horizon here. So Wollochet Bay is pretty big, but it's pretty affected by the tide. So if you're at the far end of the bay, half the time you're going to have mud flats instead of waterfront, and the other half, high tide, you're going to have great waterfront. Now, if you're closer to the mouth of the bay, then this doesn't come into effect nearly as much. And you have waterfront all the time. So it just kind of depends how far up the bay you are. It's really pretty at high tide, but this is one of the bays that's pretty affected by the tides. And so this is just an example of one of the neighborhoods in Wollochet. And then we're going to be moving over to Artondale and Fox Island next. So I thought I'd take a little stop in the driving tour and show you Fox Island. I'm right at the end of the Fox Island Bridge now. And this is a little special area of Gig Harbor. This is the one area of Gig Harbor that actually has its own mailing address, so you actually get your mail at Fox Island. But it's very much considered part of Gig Harbor. As I turn around this way, you'll see the bridge behind me there. This is one way in and one way out. It's one of two islands in the Gig Harbor area. You have Fox Island and Raft Island, which is much smaller than this. Fox Island's got about 1,000 homes or so, about 6,000 people live on it. It's about 6.4 square miles total, and it's really spectacular. It's there behind me. It's about 5 miles from downtown Gig Harbor to get to this point. Some of the views, I think you can see Mount Rainier behind me there. And then if I turn around this way, now you're looking due west, and that's water behind me. So a lot of water, really pretty area. Some of the advantages of Fox Island is you're away from the hustle and bustle. You're a little out of town, right? It's about 5 miles from downtown, like I'd mentioned. So the lots are bigger, it's pretty quiet, it's very much a residential area. Just really spectacular waterfront homes all around and big acreage. There's even some equestrian properties, things like that. Negative is this pretty far away. 5 miles doesn't seem that far, but that's just to this point. You can drive another 15 minutes or so just to get to the tip of Fox Island. So from the further points of Fox Island, you might be, 25 minutes or so just from the freeway. Most of the schools, the junior highs and the high schools in particular, are not on Fox Island, so it's a little bit of a drive to get your kids to school. Of course, there's buses and things, but it takes them a while to get there. Any real shopping, you got to go to downtown Gig Harbor for grocery stores and things like that. And to get to Costco or Home Depot or the YMCA or Target, you're talking 20, 30 minutes, maybe, depending on where on the island you're at. But it's a really quiet neighborhood, and it's really, really beautiful. This is absolutely one of the most spectacular views in all of Gig Harbor, so I wanted to take a minute and show this to you. We're on the Fox Island Bridge currently, and we're looking out towards Mount Rainier there, and it's just amazing with the water, the mountain that just dwarfs everything else. If you looked out the other way, which I can't turn the camera around right now, but looking the other way would be where all your sunsets are and the Olympic Mountains on that side. So this is just some really scenic stuff, and I wanted to highlight it and give the opportunity for you to see it here on this video. We're going to head from Fox Island over into really the heart of Gig Harbor, which is Artondale. Artondale is probably the biggest geographic part of Gig Harbor. It's almost 14 square miles and has about 18,000 residents or so. Now there's a lot of little sub areas that are pretty much included to be Artondale, Kopachuk, Arletta, things like that. Some people argue whether that's really Artondale or not, but if it's not, it just borders Artondale, and it pretty much is. You can't get too nitty-gritty with this. So Artondale's pretty diverse as far as the type of homes you find. You have regular neighborhoods on just, 15,000 square foot lots, all the way up to you have some equestrian properties that are, 5 to 10 acres. Not often will you get lots bigger than that, but once in a while in Gig Harbor you will, but it's pretty rare. So like I said, Artondale is very much the heart of Gig Harbor. Anywhere from old homes that go back decades to new construction, and we're going to drive through Artondale here and head up towards Raft Island and Rosedale. As we head into Rosedale here, you can see it's just north of Artondale. It's a little bit smaller of an area. It has about 6,000 residents or so and includes areas like Raft Island and Simmel. Where we're driving now is up to the Raft Island Bridge. Raft Island is the other island here in Gig Harbor that's accessible by car with a bridge, but this is much smaller. There's only about 315 homes. You pretty much do a loop around the island, but there are a couple little streets that cut through the middle. So here we are going over the little bridge, as you can see. It's a cool little spot. The places to the left, they all have views of the Olympic Mountains as they're looking out to the west. And then, of course, to the right, just looking out onto the canal there, the little bay, and looking out to the east. And you might have some views of Mount Rainier and things like that as well. So we're going to do a little U-turn here on Raft Island and head back across the bridge, drive through a couple streets of Rosedale, and then we're going to start heading over to Gig Harbor North. We just came off of Rainosh Drive and now are on Rosedale, approaching this curve up here. And this up here on the left, there's a Little League field. Kids, smaller kids, but they do Little League practices and soccer practices. Obviously a gas station here on the right. This is the very end of Rosedale, the most westerly point. And we're going to come up here. There's going to be some really nice homes on the left. This is approaching waterfront stuff up here on the left side. And like I said, the farthest point of Rosedale, but to get to the freeway from here is really only about 7 or 8 minutes, and maybe about 8 to 10 minutes to get to Costco and Albertsons and Target and things like that. So while you feel a little more isolated out here because you're off the beaten path, it's not too far from the things that you need as far as convenience goes. As we transition from Rosedale to Gig Harbor North, this is the area that those homes that are located in Rosedale, well, this is where they're going to come shopping. This is a really revitalized area of Gig Harbor. It's not new, but it's so recently developed and it's just exploding with population growth and some of the amenities that other places in the Gig Harbor get to benefit from. When I moved to Gig Harbor, this overpass over Highway 16 didn't exist. The on-ramps and off-ramps here didn't exist. These roundabouts are fairly new. So this is a really, really built-up area over the last decade or so. Up here is where you're going to find some of those stores like Home Depot, Target, Costco. The YMCA is here, and shoot, they even built a new elementary school right here at the top of the hill. St. Anthony's Hospital is also just up to the left, and so it's really grown. Now, there's a lot of people here now. They built some tract home communities that brought thousands and thousands of people into this area. But they did a really good job with the infrastructure. The roads work pretty well. The roundabouts, once you learn to navigate them, they really keep the traffic moving along. And even though traffic's pretty light today with the snow, you can see you just kind of pull up and merge in, and it's no problem. So here we are. There's a number of roundabouts on Borgen here, and we're going to pull off. If you remember, we were at that intersection, which is the worst intersection in Western Washington a while ago, and I tried to stop at a Starbucks to get some coffee, and that was an absolute no-go. Well, right here, there's another Starbucks because there's one everywhere, and I'm going to get a cup of coffee so we can continue our tour. Coffee time. Cup of afternoon Joe. Okay, we're going to speed through the main drag of Gig Harbor North here, which is Goodman Drive. And off of Borgen is all those stores that I had mentioned. There's a few new apartment buildings. There's a bunch of new tract home developments, and we're going to pull into one right here called Harbor Hill. Harbor Hill is 8, 9 years old for when the first home started going in, and they just finished it up a couple years ago. It's a nice but fairly typical tract home community. You get a lot of the same floor plans that sort of repeat every fourth house or so. Sometimes they're turned around backwards or, different color scheme. And the lots are pretty darn small. They're really trying to do the urban density and shrink everybody down onto smaller lot size, a smaller urban footprint, if you will. But the homes are really nice. I have a few friends that live in here and they really enjoy the community. Lots of families in here. Halloween is a total zoo with kids trick-or-treating all over the place. So, it's a great community for sure. You just got to know going in that it's a tract home community and the lots are pretty small. So you're not going to have football games in your backyard by any means. Anyway, we're going to get out of here and we're going to head to another community in Gig Harbor North here called Canterwood. The hill we just came up is a road called Canterwood Boulevard. It not only accesses Canterwood, but there's a number of other neighborhoods off this road as well. Also, just back there on the right was St. Anthony's Hospital. That was built about 15 years ago, and it's really added a big benefit to this community here. Prior to that, if you needed any hospital care at all, you either had to go across the bridge to Tacoma or up into Kitsap County to Bremerton at what was called Harrison Hospital. Now it's St. Michael's. Anyway, we're approaching Canterwood now, and we're going to turn into it right here. And as you can see, there's a security gate here. This is a gated private community with 24-hour security, and this is the access for the general public to get through. They got to stop and get a pass from security, and this is how they would enter. If you're a resident of Canterwood or if you're a member of the country club, you have access to the neighborhood through a couple other gates, but this is the main public entrance. So let's talk about Canterwood a little bit. Like I mentioned, it's a private gated community, and there's also a country club, and the two have nothing to do with each other. You can be a member of the country club and not live within the gates, or you can live within Canterwood and not have anything to do with the country club. But many of the residents here obviously are members and reap the benefits of all the things the country club has to offer. So we're coming into the main part of the country club itself here, and as we make this bend, you'll see this big bubble in front of us. That bubble on the hill has 4 tennis courts and a couple pickleball courts underneath it. And they put that bubble up during the winter so you can play all year round, and then that bubble comes down sometime in the spring and you have outdoor courts for the spring, summer, and early fall. Now, I know there's a lot of snow on the ground right now and it doesn't look like there's not much going on, but normally this is busy every single day of the year. People play golf all year round. There just happens to be snow on the ground that's going to stick around for a couple days. So we're looking straight ahead here at the main clubhouse. This is where the restaurant is, the bar, the locker rooms, the pro shop, access to the golf course. Everything is right there. Now it's on our right. We're going to come up here. That building up there forward and on the right, that's the fitness center. And behind the fitness center is a pool. The pool has swim lessons for kids. It has swim teams, and then of course every afternoon in late spring all through the summer it's just a big family recreation area for country club members. So Canterwood itself has about 815 homes. The community really got started in 1988. Now there's one street in here that was grandfathered in that's got about 6 houses on it, and they were built in the early 80s, and then Canterwood was built around those. It started as an equestrian community, and there's still an equestrian facility here with stables and an arena and things like that. But for some reason that didn't really take off, and they built the golf course, and it's become kind of a golf community. So like I mentioned, 815 homes, most of which are homes like you see here. You know, they're custom built. Some are spec homes, but there's no real track homes in here. These look very individualized. They're very unique. They range in size from 2,700 square feet up to maybe 6,500 square feet. Average price point in here right now is 1.2 million. You can get some a little less than that are maybe those late 80s homes that have not been updated yet. And then of course you get homes that are over $2 million now that are the nice big ones with the latest and greatest features. There are a few condos in the community here and a few townhomes. Those are sort of the minority, but what you're looking at here, other than the snow, because the snow is not normal, but these are how most of the homes look here in Canterwood. Now Canterwood's got a pretty wide range of age, the age range. Age range, that sounds great, huh? Anyway, you have the retired folks. Some of those live in the condos or townhomes. Some live in the regular single family homes. And then there's a lot of young families in here with little kiddos. It's a great family neighborhood. A lot of people feel the security of having the security guards on duty 24 hours a day. There's parks within here. Just right here on the right is a park with a basketball court and a couple tennis courts. So there's even a sand volleyball court up there, and a big grass area, picnic area, things like that. So it's a really nice, well-kept, pretty well-renowned neighborhood in Gig Harbor. And as we're turning here, we're going to go out one of the residential gates. Now, anybody can go out any gate you want, but to get in, if you're not a member of the club or a member of the community, then you got to go through that main gate with the security guard. As we come up here, we're going to pull into this little parking lot, and this is just where the equestrian facilities are. People keep some horses here. If you're a Canterwood resident, you have priority for those spots. And then, like I said, there's an arena, there's a horse riding club, lessons, things like that. The last part of our tour today is going to be Purdy, and this is just down the hill from Gig Harbor North. Just coming into it here, making a left, and Purdy's a pretty small area, but it's worth mentioning for sure in this tour. Peninsula High School is just to the left behind those trees. This is a really easily accessible area from Highway 16, but it's got its downside too. As you can see, it's just a 2-lane road. We're going to come up to a light here and make a right and go over the Purdy Bridge. This is almost one way in, one way out to all of Key Peninsula. Now you can go around Burley Lagoon and get to it from Kitsap County, but that's pretty far out of the way. So during rush hour, this just gets pretty congested. It takes a little while to get across this bridge going either way. Rush hour, it's packed. You can see how narrow this bridge is, and if a big truck is coming the other way, watch out for your rearview mirror. Now, you get across Purdy Bridge, you're on the Purdy Spit here, Henderson Bay's to the left, Burley Lagoon there to the right. Really pretty area, spectacular views of the Olympic Mountains heading this way if the clouds weren't there. And the real estate, your dollar goes a lot further, in part because it gets kind of far away the further out on the peninsula you go, and people don't want to deal with the rush hour traffic going over that bridge. So it's not as desirable by some, but it's a really pretty area, and like I said, your dollar goes a little further, so it might be worth looking out here.
If you like that video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. And also, remember to subscribe and tap that little bell to get all your notifications. And if you think somebody else might benefit from it, make sure you share it with them. My name's Darren Rivers, and we'll see you on the next video.